Now, Mind Your Head is a relatively new kid on the block, set up to tackle the issues of mental health within the construction industry. And Paul's going to tell me a bit about it, because it's all very new, this, isn't it, Paul?
Yeah, it's about less than 3 months old, and it came together with a friend of mine who's a psychotherapist, and we wanted to do something a bit different, very straight talking, but also, a little different in terms of a bit of wit and a bit of difference, so people could get an idea of the kind of messages we want to put over about resilience and mental health, but doing it through the medium of pieces of art made from construction materials. Hence the idea of material support. So it's literally construction material support.
And with that in mind, you've got a sort of a small art installation here using construction materials to sort of add a bit of wit, a bit of humour, but also to raise awareness of all the issues of anxiety and stress within the industry.
Yeah, and also to make a point that every building material, because as I said, the building is built into our language. You know, don't paint yourself into a corner, building brick walls between people. So the idea is each building material could carry its own message about an attitude or an insight, or about, you know, letting you know that everybody has these problems, you know, so reframing your thinking, things like that. And they all have that kind of message.
Okay, well, let's go inside and have a little look. So let's start here. So yes, it gets people talking, it gets people thinking. So if we enter here, just talk us through a couple now here, look, find a way to relieve pressure.
Yeah, I mean, this basically, we had a valve, and we talked to a number of construction manufacturers, and they were all delighted to actually get involved with the creative, but use it. The rule was that it had to be one of their products and had to be very visible. So this is an oxygen relief valve. So literally we used it as about relieving pressure.
Yes, and to let people know it's okay to let off steam.
It's okay to let off steam, and it's, you know, and developing your own internal valve, basically.
Yes, and your own way of doing that.
Exactly.
So if we wander through, so we've got all sorts of things going on here on the walls, and then look, we have a urinal going on. Now tell me about this.
Yeah, well, this is based on a very old piece of art from 1928. Where a famous artist called Marcel Duchamp put a urinal in an art gallery, signed it, and voila, conceptual art in Paris it was. So we thought we've got to have a urinal there, and so this is our sort of version, but in the motorway services, where you have the ad above it, and with a very simple message. I think you can read between the lines a bit there.
Of course you can, and I mean the urinal in another way as well. I know people talk about mental health issues within the construction industry, but of course it is still very male dominated, the industry, so I assume a huge amount of the problems do involve men.
About 140 times more men in the construction industry commit suicide than females. But that being said, we've got a toilet cubicle as well, which is so it's completely balanced. But yes, it's the rates of male suicide are 3 times higher in men than in the general population, and in construction industry, it's much higher.
But of course, it must be higher as well because they dominate the industry. There are far fewer women.
It's statistics, basically.
Yeah. So why do you think rates are so high within the industry?
Well, we've got a psychotherapist on site who goes into this a bit, but it's largely to do with the kind of macho culture, the background of not talking about your feelings, but also not showing signs of weakness. I mean, my dad was a reconstructed working class guy, but a lovely man. But you didn't talk about these things. You sort of you found a way, and of course, we live in a very complicated world, and it's not that simple anymore. So it's a cultural thing, I think, that is changing, but slowly.
Yes, of course. And I can imagine on the site, there's a lot of banter, there's a lot of fun. Like you say, yes, just turn the other cheek and not talk about things. But, installations like this will hopefully open people's eyes as to ways they can open up. And actually, look, as we walk here, I'm hearing some soothing voices here. Tell me about this little space.
This is our hypno booth. This is a 4-minute tape of hypnotherapy done by our on-site psychotherapist. That's just basically about bringing you down, just listening to sort of calmness and using hypnotherapy techniques of the voice and just different techniques to actually make you feel better.
And you talk about having a psychotherapist on site here.
Yeah, all the time.
Yeah, so people can actually come down if they want to not just look at the exhibition here, but actually just have a chat.
Well, also, yeah, but he's also there to advise companies that want to deal with this issue within themselves, within their own companies. So HR managers, managing directors. So we're looking to support the whole management chain as well as individuals, because it's a problem for everybody. And as somebody showed the other day, the government's estimates reckon that that's £99 billion a year in productivity is lost through mental health, which is a HS2 every year. So if we can do something about a quarter of that, that's enormous.
And obviously the sort of culture around it's changing. People are talking about it more. Do you get a sense then that companies are getting a lot more involved? They want to actually commit some money and some time to helping?
I know for a fact we got 40 companies come on board in 6 weeks. And we put it out on LinkedIn and they came back massively, and they're looking for ways to actually do something and to improve their company's approach to this, or even just ideas. So they're absolutely all over it, to be honest, and it's incredibly encouraging to see, and we've been very moved by it. But absolutely, I mean, there isn't anybody who isn't very aware of this now. It's a case of how do we move it forward, and that's about being where these people are when they're having these thoughts, and that's the difficult bit, because these are the most difficult people to find and to reach. So we're aiming to do that in a very no-nonsense way. And our kind of inspiration for that was actually an airline safety card. So you, in the back of your airline seat, you pick it up. There's very clear instructions in an emergency what to do. So we take a very sort of direct approach to this. If you feel like this, do this. The main thing is to do something and to maybe divert people away from that terrible moment.
Absolutely, and this is certainly a step in the right direction and has obviously been received really well down here at UK Construction Week. So I know obviously we've had a little walk round here now. What else have you got going on down at the stand here? Do you have any talks?
Yeah, we had talks. We just had the president of the Royal Institute of British Architects this morning. We had Ben Channon from Happy by Design. We're talking about the kind of the design there. We've got Emily Green from the Architects Benevolent Society, and Gareth is doing a talk every day on practical techniques, etc. But apart from that, we're just talking to people as they come around and trying to raise the awareness and move it forward. And so, yeah, please come down and see what we've got to offer. And it's we're not selling anything apart from good health, mental health.
Exactly, and everyone wants to buy into a bit of that, don't they? So get yourself down here and check out this fantastic art installation and see what the guys are doing here.